Do you sometimes feel that there are some folks who should not be expats? I mean, they are miserable and making everybody around them miserable. Let's talk about it for a minute. Hey, friends, welcome back to SWRA, Single Women Retiring Abroad. Today, I thought we could chat about some of the factors that folks should consider when they want to become an expat, and some of the things that should keep them from going down that path, right? In the videos that we post, we talk a lot about all the traits that are necessary for you to be successful as an expat, the research, the self-assessment, get your affairs in order and research, right? But today I want to focus more on the intrinsic characteristics that will make you a successful expat. And we're going to talk about the reason why you shouldn't consider being an expat first. And then towards the end, I will give you, I think I counted like 10 or 11 tips, not necessarily tips, but characteristics of the people who are most likely to succeed as an expat in a new place, away from home, from family, and what you're used to, the familiar. So before we get into the weeds, again, my name is Maggie. I am your host. And I guess you could say I am I don't want to say manager, but with Single Women Retiring Abroad. Not only is this a YouTube channel name, but it's also a group on the ground where we are creating community and supporting our sisters who are single female coming to retire. And because I'm in Panama, I talk about Panama, but the principle can apply to wherever you choose to expat to. And we have thriving communities of expats all over the globe. But here we focus mostly on the single older female. The reason I wanted to talk about this topic is that most of us as expats, we do come across some miserable expats and people who bring up all the stuff that supposedly they're supposed to leave over there. But because you are a certain personality or person, I mean, it's you carry that with you wherever you go. And sometimes we do come across those folks and it's like, okay, you chose to come here. All right, so let's go back to work. Expat 101. You should not consider being an expat if you have those character traits, right? And then again, at the end, we'll flip it and tell you exactly the things that you need to do, not to do actually with this video. It's just more about you. It's like improving yourself, checking yourself, see if you're going to be making it or not. Okay? The first one that you should not consider being an expat if you've never traveled, and I think I mentioned in another video, you've never left your little town. Some people I've met in my career who have never even taken a bus to go anywhere. So it's impossible for you to have a global view of the world and be really have blinders on and thinking that the whole world thinks like you do. No bueno. The next thing that you should really have in your basket, thinking that the US, you should not have in your basket, thinking that the US is the best place on earth and that there is no other place that you could be happy in or thrive. And I think if you talk to a lot of expats, they're going to tell you they're living their best life outside of the US. This is not about bashing the US. This is about talking about a lifestyle, a mentality, a view of the world that is different from other places, okay? We as Americans, we love the country. but we're not blind to the challenges, okay? And some of us in certain ethnic groups, unfortunately, we just feel that pressure a little bit more than some other groups. But thinking that, I mean, and I read it in those Facebook groups sometimes. Well, I'm American. I'm never going to leave there. This is my land. And you do you. And what I'm saying is, if you have this narrow vision, it's going to be difficult for you to acclimate into another culture because you're always going to come across with that superiority complex. You've met some people like that, right? Who think that we do it better, we have it better, we can show you how to do it better. Who asked you? And the locals get really offended when you're bringing that mentality into their country, telling them you're going to show them how to do things. Don't do it. So that mentality, with that mentality, you're not going to do well as an expat. You find it, I'm trying to read my own handwriting. Sometimes I can't even read my own handwriting. You find it difficult to relate to people who don't look like you, to foreigners, to immigrants. And I know this is a topic that has been in the news a lot lately and for the last few years. We're not going to go into a discussion as to that America is a land that is built on immigrants. We bring all our positive, our skills and everything. And whoever came on the Mayflower, they came and built the country. So we are a country of immigrants. But I know some people refuse to accept that notion. But if you are in the group that feel that a certain group of people, you are the ones that are the privileged few and the ones who deserve everything, you have the best, you are the best, and everybody else who comes is a threat or whatever, then why would you even be thinking about going somewhere else? If you have it that good and you the best, there is no point in going somewhere else, right? So if you have that mentality, it's going to be very difficult for you to assimilate, to embrace another culture. The next thing that I have on my list is you can't imagine being away from your family. Now, family is important in almost, I would say, cultures, right? We value our family, even though the structures are different, and it's also culturally based on how we relate to each other. But you are so tight with your family members that you just can't imagine being away. And if you feel that way, how are you going to take all the stuff it takes for you to divest yourself of everything and physically moving thousands of miles away? Be true to yourself. If your family is that tight and you can't imagine living your mom, your brothers, your community, why are you thinking of expatriating? Why? That's what I want to know. You need to think. So the title of my video is You Should Not Consider Panama. And I'm putting Panama because I'm in Panama, but it could be Thailand, it could be Mexico, it could be everywhere else in Latin America, Colombia, Ecuador, okay? You can't. It's going to be a hindrance for you. So think on these things. Another thing would be you are 100% responsible for your family and everybody around. I call that the Big Mama syndrome. Big Mama takes care of everybody, is in everybody's business. You have not raised your kids to be independent. You making the decisions for them, or you demanding that they do what you say. Again, how is that going to work? I want you to think about that. And I'm not pointing these things out to be, again, the word I like to use a lot, I'm not making a critique of it. I'm just a very realistic person. And my job, I'm not a counselor or anything, but I'm a psychiatrically trained professional. People need to get inside themselves and see the reality, bring it out, and be in your truth. Walk in your truth. I've heard somebody say that. Don't lie to yourself about what is the obvious, because then it's a recipe for failure, right? So if your kids depend on you, your neighbor, your uncle, your auntie, you've adopted everybody and you like this into everybody's stuff, how are you going to get yourself away so you can move abroad? That should not even be something you consider, right? The next thing is you heavy in debt. How are you going to use the energy that it takes to embrace a new culture, to learn a new culture, to mentally see yourself in a different space and be successful if you're worried about how much money you owe? One of the things that we talk about is that you can say, maybe not now. Let me take care of this debt first. And again, I was on the channel with Rick and Halisi, our Black Utopia, and they have courses where they tell people how to get ready to become expats. And debt is probably the number one in there, in that course. You need to address the debt. You cannot be in debt and be a successful expat. Okay? You're also not a troubleshooter. You are not an independent thinker. These are the people when something happens, it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Oh my God. And then you just doing the hand wringing, and then you calling on everybody to come and take care of your problem. Have you met people like that? I have. Okay? You cannot expect people to solve your issues and then you want to move abroad and be independent. Who are you going to bring along with you? Who's going to take care of your problems when they arise? Think on these things. So right now, we still have a few items to go over, and then we're going to flip the switch and tell you what we think would make you a good expat. So please go down here and click all the little buttons at the bottom of your screen. Click like, share, and please subscribe to the channel. We're still on our way to 4,000. And it's not a sprint, it's just a daily walk. I try to keep myself from watching this subscriber count because it's like, is it views or subscribers? I don't know. I'd like both. Is that okay with you? Okay, the next thing is you don't like being inconvenienced. OMG. This one is a big one. We have a lot of expats. I don't want to say they're older. I talked about that in another video. Some people who are set in their ways, they like it this way, or it's my way or the highway. And they come here. I had this gentleman I read about, he was not in the city. And then he went to a local convenience store and he went on his Facebook page and was ranting and raving that um, the store that he went to did not have what he's used to in his garage. He had in his garage at home. And I'm like, sir, you either can bring it with you, you can order it through Amazon, it will come here to your home, and then, oh, hush, right? People don't want to hang around people who are always complaining about what we had at home and what we don't have here. Big Will had somebody on his program. He's another YouTuber in this area. And the couple was saying, live everything over there, there. Don't try to bring there here. I'm sorry, I hope it's not copyrighted, but I thought it was such a great line because some people just can't separate themselves from what they have left. You left. No one came and dragged you and brought you here. So why, would you be complaining? Now, there are certain things I can't find here. And sometimes it takes me a little while to find it. Like I was looking for lima beans for a year and a half. I could not find lima beans. The other day I went to Reba Smith and there it was. I was so excited. But it wasn't something that was so earth-shattering or important for me to whine and complain about it. If they don't have it, then that's okay. I move on to the next thing or whatever they have available. And then that's the next point. the flexibility of mind and thinking. If you're inflexible, you only like one brand of whatever it is. You can only have one brand of cereal and one brand of cheese or clothing, whatever it is, you are going to have a hard time. And you should just keep your little self at home where you have access to those things. Don't come here and make the rest of us miserable, and especially the locals. My friend was telling me the other day when she was going someplace and she saw a group of people, I would say, visitors. So it's, oh, I have my water. A group of people who were visiting, and they were being really rude to the person in the store because the person didn't speak English. That's another thing that bothers us. You chose to come here, and hopefully you didn't ask, do they speak Spanish in Panama? Mm-hmm. So I'm saying that if I come across someone like that who's being rude to a local because of their sense of entitlement, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to address it. Say, excuse me, can I help you? You know, and that's why I might get myself in trouble because it's really wrong. We should not be doing that. You are not open to learning a new language. You know, this thing, I would say I was guilty of that when I was trying to consider the Peace Corps. And I did not understand that I was going to have to learn a tribal language. I should have looked for an assignment in a Spanish speaking country or an English speaking country. Know thyself. I did not know myself that well to realize the impact it was going to have, because that was one of the things that cut short my assignment with the Peace Corps. So I made the mistake myself. So know thyself. If you say there is no way in, what, I'm going to learn the language, you might want to reconsider. Because yes, you have Google Translate, but it gets old. And I have read that is one of the factors that keep people from staying to their, you know, in their country that they expatriated to, because after 7 years and not being to say the basics, you're going to get annoyed. And chances are you're going to pack up and go back home. So think about that. I have the last couple too. I kind of hesitate to say one of them. One of them is really silly. It might sound silly, but you don't like dogs, or you're such a dog lover that you don't want to see dogs roaming around on, they don't have a leash on and they're just roaming the streets. You might have a problem. Because although in the city, we don't see a lot of loose dogs, but if you leave Panama City and you go into the interior, there are dogs everywhere. And I heard about the same thing in Mexico. And you know, you go to Turkey, they say they have cats. So not everybody treats animals the way we do, okay? And if seeing dogs loose in the street, you know, you really gets your emotions. You know, you're like, well, how could they? Why they're not neutered and spayed? It's the culture. I was in El Valle when I was visiting last year, and there was this hound-looking dog with the long flippy ears. I mean, it was the cutest thing. Every morning I woke up and there he was, going down the street. I don't know who he belongs to. He may not even have an owner. And then I'd walk into some stores and there's the dog laying around. Everybody, some people would push it with their foot. Some people would pet it. I petted it. It's part of the landscape. So if that bothers you and you belong to one of these organizations that feel like if somebody speaks loudly to a dog, it's abuse, and gotta reconsider. Ah, so I'm telling you all these things that I've thought about that would make it difficult for you to be an expat. So you should not consider moving, let's say, to Panama as an expat if you've never traveled before, Your view of the world is like this. It's your small little town, your little community, your family. You don't know anything else. And you're not open to learning anything else or being with other people. You think the US is the best, and that nobody else does it better. You find it difficult to relate to foreigners or immigrants. Mm-hmm. You can't imagine being away from your family. You're suffering heavily from the big mama syndrome. Mm-hmm. You are 100%, I don't think I mentioned that. You are 100% responsible for your aging parents or other family members. That's part of the big mama complex, but it's a little bit more than that. It's more of a duty, right? Some of us say you need to make arrangements to have someone else be a backup or you can manage from afar. But if it's not possible, it's going to be difficult for you to be a successful expat. Okay. You are heavily in debt. You are not a troubleshooter. You want somebody else to take care of your issues and to solve your problems. You don't like being inconvenienced. You only use a certain brand of this, a certain brand of that. And if you don't have them, you become unbearable. You're not open to learning a new language. Then why are you considering going somewhere else? Stay where you can speak your native language. You don't like dogs. The last one I didn't say, and I ask for forgiveness as I say it. You kind of a jerk. Or a bee. You know some people like that. I mean, you try to call on God when you're thinking of them. You don't want to label them, but boy, oh boy, when you're around them, yeah. And I think some people know that they are. And some people tell me, I know I'm a bee. They carry it like a badge of honor. What I'm saying is, if you're a bee at home, please don't come here and be a bee here because you're going to make our lives miserable. So think about those things. So now, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying this conversation. You know, I'm saying all this in love. This is all part of the training and part of making you think about what you're doing. Don't make a decision to be an expat based on emotions. You know, all the videos, people are telling you, leave now, get your passport, leave now. And you're like, okay, without doing the work. And the work starts with you. You. Okay? Do your self analysis. Don't let somebody come and say, well, no, it's like, yeah, I already thought of that. Because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't think I can do it. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 2 years, but I'm not there yet. It's okay to say that. To me, I have a lot more respect for someone who says that. And I wish I had done that before I went to the Peace Corps, went to South Africa, not realizing I had to learn a tribal language. I did not do my due diligence, and that was on me. All right. So, what are the characteristics of the successful expat? And I told you I would give you that. Number one, you have traveled. You're a traveler. You've been around. You've experienced different cuisine, different climates, and you love milling with strangers and the locals, and it gives you energy. Check. Number two, you are open-minded. You don't think that you know it all. You accept people for who they are, for where they're at, because sometimes we come to a country and we look down at the local. Do you know not everybody grew up in a country where you have free education and you can have welfare and you have families taking care of you? Oh my God. And if you don't travel, if you don't read, you don't watch documentaries, you don't talk to other people, then you don't know. Then you become this narrow-minded person that is very hard to get along with because and that was some of the reason for me when I went to a certain place and I was like, if somebody can't really say, oh, okay, this is how the other half of the world lives. Oh, they do this like that over there. We don't ask you to make a decision or to judge or to say, oh, I can't believe they do that. I can't believe they eat this. Who made you a judge? You're just so lucky that you were born with certain privileges. Not everybody is that lucky, okay? All right. You open and flexible. You adaptable. If you don't have something, you're like, oh, okay, what do we do? The power goes out. Okay, what can I do? You get water shortages. Well, how can I prevent that? Let me get some, big containers and put adaptability is a key. I guess you would say personality trait for someone who wants to move abroad. Okay. Now, again, I didn't do my homework. I didn't know myself, didn't realize that it was not going to be easy for me to use an outhouse, that I cannot be somewhere where they have creepy crawlers. I was so open. I had my head in the clouds. I did. I was guilty of the same thing I'm telling you. So please be mindful. You are willing to leave and leave whatever you left at home, accept your current situation and integrate into a new community. I think I talked a lot about that in a previous video. Learning the language, knowing how to shop, knowing how to travel, all this stuff are part of the integration, and accepting people for who they are and where they are, and not think you're superior, you do it better, and then you're going to show them how to do it your way. No, no, no. The locals do not like it. And if you come here with this attitude, you're going to mess it up for the rest of us who are here. Please don't do that. Okay? You are patient and you're a problem solver. You're resilient. I think that comes together. If something happens to you, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going home. The very first hardship, you're going home. This is one of the skills that we as parents teach our kids. And I used to tell people, when your kids get into trouble, let them troubleshoot. You cannot go and rescue them every time. That is not going to make them grow. My kids are very independent. And sometimes, the kids resent it when you're like, okay, then what are you going to do? Right? But you're just training them to be resilient and to troubleshoot any situation, because this life is not for the faint at heart, right? It's tough. And you need to teach your kids and yourself to develop a hard shell where you could say, okay, I got beat down, I can wash myself up and get up, and how do I do it? Okay. So you come to a new country, you make contact, and then something happens. You're like, hey, this happened. What can I do? Right. And that's why we're on the ground. I had this new friend who came to town, and she said, I need you to help me do this. And I gladly did, because that's what we're here for. Okay. Your family structure is such that they are independent, that even though you might be supportive, but you're not central to their life, right? You have your kids, they are adults. Let them be adults. If they ask you, I always tell my kids, if you ask for my advice, I will give it. But if you don't, I'm staying in my lane, because this is your life, your decision. And I always tell my kids, every decision carries consequences, good or bad. Then it's up to you to deal with that. You made a decision, you're going to deal with this consequences, and you're going to have to troubleshoot and figure it out. That is part of being an adult, isn't it? And I'm saying it with love. You know that. All right. Your support at home is okay. That if something happens, you have somebody you can call who can troubleshoot for you. And then you also understand that, yes, you're going to be homesick. So you're going to have to make arrangements to say, okay, I'm going to go home so many times, the first year or two, so I can transition, because not everybody can just take themselves out and just plop somewhere else and never return. Not everybody can do that. A lot of us have to ease into it. That's part of the human experience. You're not a piece of wood. You're not a chair. You have got to nurture those emotions, okay? It's important. The timing is right for you. Remember what I said? If you're in debt, you have aging parents who are really unwell, you have teenage kids, all of these together may not be the right time for you to move abroad. It's okay to say, well, maybe not now, maybe a little bit later, maybe in the future. And sometimes you just can't. And it's okay. Don't force it. Don't listen to all the noise that said, oh my God, hurry up and get out. Not everybody can get out. And we understand that. I'm retired. If I were younger and I had younger kids, maybe I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't know why everybody thinks everybody can expat. That is not true. Don't do that. That's why we have casualties. All right. Right. Your decision to expat is based on research and data and not just on emotions. You heard me say that a lot. You are in good financial standing. If you're a digital nomad, you have a job. I know people who say, oh, can you tell me how to get a job in Panama? And they're like 35. Well, go talk to that lawyer and they'll tell you. If you're retired, you know you can't work. So you have to get your ducks in a row. And that shows when you ask those questions whether you really did your research or not. That's why I don't even answer some of these questions. I'm like, that's basic. I have this lady post sometimes, oh, I will be coming with my kids in a month. I'm relocating to Panama. Do they have schools and international schools? And I'm thinking, you moving with your family with young kids in 1 month and you don't know about the school system. I rest my case. You understand the importance of stress management. I'm going to be doing a presentation for the ladies on depression as you move abroad and all the emotions, the emotional toll of moving abroad. It's a real thing. When they talk about the honeymoon phase, it's a real thing. When you get to the day to day to day to day, how are you going to feel? Did you mentally prepare? Did you do the work that it takes? And some of the younger women, you know, on channels like Exodus Summit and Stephanie Perry and all of them, people talk about their trauma. It goes a little bit deeper because they're carrying a lot of stuff. So sabbatical and talking with the coach is very helpful to these people. But so is moving abroad. If you say to me, I'm 80 years old and I want to move to Panama, I'm like, oh, hold up. There's a whole lot you need to discuss, sis. Okay. So understanding the emotional concept of moving abroad is a real thing. Just like when we go to menopause, we talked about that in the live last week. Moving abroad is also going to carry a lot of stuff because, you know, some people think that if they were having trouble, you know, they had stuff that happened in their childhood, trauma that they're carrying around, they have depression, anxiety, whatever. And they're like, oh, I'm going to go to Panama where the sun is shining and I'm going to be well. Everything is going to be hunky-dory and beautiful. Sis, you're going to bring all the stuff and it's going to be the same over here if you don't address it. Okay, so don't have your heads in the cloud. Life is life. Life happens here too. And the last one is you are an eternal learner. You know, there are some people you can't teach them anything. They know it all. They've done it all. And people like that I run away from because I am always learning something. And it's not just language. You learn from people. I'm always watching videos, you know, almost every weekend I'm in some kind of webinar, you know, online. You're never too old to learn. So when you expatriate, not only are you willing to learn the language, but you're learning the culture. You know, I go to events where I can understand the people I'm living with better and see the population, the different groups that are here, and how to move in between all the different groups and cultures. And that's a full-time job, but you have to position yourself in a way to learn So being an internal learner is such an asset to being, an expat. And that's why we take time to say, we're going to travel here, we're going to travel there. People go to Ecuador, they go to Colombia, I want to go to Peru, it's part of the learning. And I'm enthralled when I'm learning about new cultures, to the food, of course. Me, I'm into food. But going to a presentation, a social event, and just listening to people, you learn so much and interact with the locals. I had a conversation with someone yesterday where I learned a lot. And I'm always in a learning mode. I'm always asking questions. It's that sense of being curious. But if you think you have it better over there, you're not going to be interested in learning about people here. And that's sad. That is sad. All right. I think I've just rambled on so much. So to recap, we went over you should not be considering Panama if you have all these negative things and your mindset that's just going to make it difficult for you. And I did finish with a positive to tell you all the traits. Not all, I'm sure it's not exhaustive. I'm sure we have others that I didn't mention, that others have mentioned. That's why you need to watch other people's channels, right? But this is just conversation. And again, I want you to think about your decision. Go in the description and find the self-assessment. It's not a scientific form. It just goes over some basic questions about, am I like this? Am I this? Am I that? To start making, maybe not, maybe not, maybe now, maybe later, okay? All right, so I'm going to stop here. I want to thank you again for listening to my rambling, and I hope you learned something today, because my videos are always trying to be educational and giving you tidbits and important points to help you on your journey to being an expat. So please remember to like, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next week. Au revoir, à la prochaine, bye bye. Cerro Punta is a small farming community or village, we're going to call it, in Chiriquí province, just outside of Volcan, and Volcan is outside of Boquete. The views are stunning. It's surrounded by those mountains and a dormant volcano. They grow a lot of the food that we eat here in the country. So there are a lot of farms and a lot of indigenous folks. And when I went there, I was absolutely amazed. It is just a beautiful place that you need to visit. They also grow strawberries. So there's a lot to discover. Discovering Panama with Maggie.